Up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with a review for Married at First Sight, Season 16, Episode 11. Episode is titled Moonshine and Monthervarseries, you guys. So before we go ahead and get into this review, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and aren't subscribed yet, do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date, having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, sharing the video. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's discuss Married at First Sight, shall we? You guys, it is so interesting to me that the season that I've decided to be consistent with happens to be a boring season. Like, I'm bored with season 16 of Married at First Sight. But I'm going to start up with the couples who in this episode really didn't annoy me that much. So we're gonna first start up with Gina and Clint. So, like I said in last week's review, I do feel that with Gina and Clint at this point, they're just doing what they can to get through the process. Do I feel that Gina and Clint will say yes at decision day? It's up in the air, honestly, because I can see moments where Gina and Clint, they look like a big happy family with them and Hank. And I'm like, okay, I can see Gina and Clint going a long way, right? But then other times I feel like maybe Gina and Clint are just, it's like like you push through to the end, right? So let me know what you guys think, right? But in this episode, all of the couples are celebrating their 1 month anniversary, right? So we see Gina and Clint. So Gina and Clint, they are with Nicole and Chris at one point, right? So they're doing a double date and they are going on I think they said it was a comedy bus. It was a comedy tour bus, right? So, you guys know like how you go to your tourist places and they have the tour bus. Like if you go to California, if you want to go tour Warner Brothers studios, they'll give you the tour of the studio. So that's what they were doing. But this one was kind of a comedy, right? Now, when, the woman was saying some things that is redneck, but Mama and them, how your mama and them doing? That ain't really just redneck. That's just country. Because we say, how your mama and them doing? Like, that's something that we say in the South. So I ain't really think that was redneck. Now, cooter, that was redneck. Because when I think of cooter, I think of, Cooter Brown, stuff like that. But I don't think of a coo, because they even thought, lady parts. It was a little bit boring, but it was kind of fun at the same time, right? So we see them, they went to a little bar and they had some shots, right? So they're celebrating their 1 month anniversary, like I said. So the guy that was their bartender, he's been married for, I think he said 6 years. So they asked him for some advice with marriage and he gave it to him, right? So, like I said a few minutes ago, with Gina and Clint has definitely grown attached to Hank. I was like, ooh, Gina, how's that gonna work on decision day if you and Clint say no to each other? Y'all gonna share custody of Hank? Because you could definitely tell that Clint has gotten attached to Hank. And I believe that Hank has gotten attached to Clint. So we see that Gina, Clint, and Hank, perfect little family, right? So we saw them, they went hiking at one point in the episode and they had a good time with each other. Hank was barking. I don't know what Hank was barking at. So then we also see that later in the episode that they have recreated the honeymoon, Jamaica, right? And, Gina and Clint will tell you that they are on a different trajectory since the honeymoon, right? And again, like I said, I still have a little bit of pause when it comes to them because I do wonder how much of this is them playing the game with just going through the motions of the ocean, going through emotions, right? And how much of this is them genuinely trying to see if they have a viable, healthy relationship with each other. But from what we can see so far, all is good between Gina and Clint, right? And it's so interesting because earlier in the season, I would have thought after that honeymoon that Gina and Clint would have been ready for divorce, right? But the only couple so far that has gotten a divorce is McKinley and Dominique, which we knew that was going to happen, right? I'm wondering, when are we going to see, because I remember seeing a preview where not Dominique, but McKinley said that he slid into Gina's DMs. When are we gonna see that episode? Because I don't think I haven't mentioned it. When are we gonna see that when McKinley says he slid into Gina's DMs? Also, when it comes to Gina, I just always question with Gina. And Clint asked her in this episode, like, what do you want to do 10 years down the road? And more specifically, what do you want to do outside of the salon? I know that Gina says she likes to mentor people, but Gina, there's got to be something more than the salon. There has to be more to Gina than the salon. And I just wonder who that person is and if we're going to see that person. You guys know how I feel about Gina. You guys know that I feel that Gina came on this show basically to plug her salon. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and we're going to pause here and move forward. The next couple up is Nicole and Chris, you guys. So Nicole's dog and her dad came up to the apartment. So the dad came to see the apartment, and he's asking them basically how everything is going. He completely forgot Chris's name. I was like, that is terrible. So he just basically wants to see what's going on, right? So he pulls Chris to the side and he's having a conversation with Chris, and he's asking Chris, like, do you feel like you're married? How was married life going, right? So Chris was talking about how Nicole wakes up early and she's, really taken to the dogs. She takes care of the dogs as well, right? And the dad must see what we see, right? Because you guys know that I've been saying for weeks that when it comes to not Gina and Clint, but Nicole and Chris, if you look at both Nicole and Chris, they bend and snap. They bend and snap to each other, right? Like 1 minute Chris is doing things to basically accommodate Nicole. Then Nicole will do things to accommodate Chris. And if you're always trying to accommodate the other person, you will, like her dad said, you will lose yourself, and no one will get anything out of this if you guys are just basically trying to please the other person. And I do feel like that's what it is when it comes to Nicole and Chris. And another thing that I feel when it comes to Nicole and Chris is that I feel that Nicole and Chris have fallen in love with each other. That's my personal opinion. I definitely believe that Nicole and Chris have fallen in love with each other. And I think that both Nicole and Chris are both terrified to say it to the other. That's why Nicole always brings up, decision day and if he loves her, because I believe that, and it leads to back what I said previously before, right? One, they trauma bond with each other, right? But the number one thing is I just don't know that they've ever had therapy and healed from previous relationships, because Nicole is going to bring that up in next week's episode. I don't know that Nicole and Chris have really just healed from the relationships that they've had where they were made to feel less than, or they weren't loved the way they were loving their partners, right? I don't know if Nicole and Chris have actually worked through that. And I think that is not good for them, and it's definitely not healthy, in my personal opinion, right? So, now Nicole's dad feels like Chris needs to exert, his words, not mine, some big dick energy. I was like, well, okay, sir, some big dick energy from Chris. Be an alpha male, but not be so overt about it, subtle. And I got what the dad was saying. But when it comes to Chris, I do see what his family said. I saw, if you guys go back to my first review, I saw from the first episode, Chris is a pushover. But the interesting thing is, Nicole is a pushover. They're both pushovers. And I don't know how that bodes well for either one of them, because they're both pretty passive and they're both pushovers. Nicole talks about her, now she does have, you can see that she has an over-the-top personality, but when it comes down to this relationship with Chris, it seems like she's kind of cowering just a little bit. And I want you guys to tell me if you guys see the same thing that I see, right? So we see Nicole and Chris, so to celebrate 1 month, they're gonna go on a helicopter ride with each other, right? So they went on a helicopter ride. It was a cute helicopter ride. So they also watched their wedding video. Now, Nicole, I got to be honest with you about this situation, right? Nicole continued to, talk about, oh my God, my makeup is bad, my hair dropped. And Chris was like, you looked fine. That's gonna wait. Nicole, if you guys have noticed with Nicole, Nicole has always brought up some, imperfections that she doesn't like. And Chris has to basically, you know, let her know it's okay. Like the wedding photo that they picked out for her. She hated the wedding photo, but now she hates her makeup at the wedding. She's very, very critical, and I just don't think that that's going to be a good thing for this relationship, that she's overly critical. But let me know what you guys think. And we're going to pause here and move over to the next two couples. The next two couples, y'all, I don't even know where to start up at. Because neither one of them, I want both of these couples to get a divorce tomorrow. Because neither one of them, I just don't see either couple going the long route. I know which one I'm gonna save for last. So the first one we're gonna talk about is Kirsten and Shaquille. So give me just a second, and we'll get into Kirsten and Shaquille, guys. So with Kirsten and Shaquille, how do I start with them? Because it feels much like I said with Gina and Clint. It feels like they're going through their emotions. With Kirsten and Shaquille, I don't even feel like they're going through the emotions, right? Kirsten and Shaquille are very confusing. So we see Kirsten, so she went out for a pedicure with her friend, right? So Kirsten, she still continuously talks about how hard it is for her to open up to Shaquille, right? But the fact that she says Shaquille is being patient with her. And I'm just like, huh? So she's still trying to open up to him. He's being patient with her, but she wants Shaquille to make her feel wanted. And I was sitting here thinking to myself, how does that work? You want for Shaquille to make you feel wanted by him, right? But you yourself, you keep saying how it's hard for you to open up to him. You're still not attracted to him. And I do want to say, when it comes to Kirsten and Shaquille, Kirsten sends mixed signals. I'm starting to see it very clearly now, right? Because if you look at her, she's always rubbing his head. She's always, cuddling up to him. And I'm like, that has to send mixed signals, right? You're not feeling comfortable enough to open up to me, but yet instead you feel comfortable to initiate love languages, physical touch. You can do this stuff to him, but you're not attracted to him and you don't feel comfortable opening up to him. It does, 1 + 1 isn't equaling 2 at this point, because it's kind of like it's showing different. It's like, I feel comfortable with you to be up under you. I feel comfortable with you to touch you. I feel comfortable with you to say that I want to spend time with you, but I don't feel comfortable to open up to you. I'm not attracted to you. I would be hella confused if I was Shaquille, right? So we saw they're celebrating their 1 month anniversary by going skating, right? And once again, while they were skating, Kirsten was all over Shaquille. And I was just like, this doesn't make a lick of sense to me. I was just sitting here puzzled, right? So then they sit down to dinner, right? So Shaq is saying that he wants to get to know Kirsten. He wants to know how she is with her friends and her family, right? But once again, she says she has to feel comfortable with him to be able to bring him around her friends and family. And I'm just sitting here thinking, how are you not comfortable with this man if you are comfortable enough to sleep in the same bed with him, cuddle with him, touch him, do all of this stuff? How are you comfortable with doing that, but you can't let your guard down that you have built up to him? And once again, you're not attracted to this man. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So they got back home after they went out to celebrate the 1 month anniversary with all the couples. Shaq feels away because he feels like, Kirsten was talking about she basically wants she wants them to be more intimate. Their intimacy level is not there, right? And I'm like, again, puzzle me confused, right? And this once again is a thing where she wants him to ask her, right? But he's like, you're not opening up to me, so how do I know? Like, why not just flat out say it to me? And this is why I say that Kirsten sends mixed signals. She sends mixed signals. But let's pause here and move on, you guys. All right, you guys, so the dinner, the couples all went out, right? So they talked about how they all celebrated 1 month of marriage. Nicole and Chris talked about how they celebrated. We know Jasmine and Eris, I'll talk about them in a minute. Jasmine and Hits from the Streets, they didn't celebrate it. Gina and Clint, they told what happened with them. Kirsten and Shaquille, nothing happened there either, right? Hits from the Streets. I just want to say one thing about Hits from the Streets, right? Let me ask this question, because you guys know that I really started watching Married at First Sight season 13 with Houston, right? So season 12, I know that that's the season of Chris and Paige, right? I know that that's their season. I didn't watch that season, and I haven't gone, and I know it's on Hulu, so I could go back and watch it. I might go back and watch it at some point, right? But I want y'all in the comments section to let me know, right? Because I remember how heated Misha used to be, Nikki Starr, like everybody who reviewed the show, I remember everybody could not stand Chris, right? Let me know in the comment section, is Chris similar to Hits from the Streets, right? Because I see on social, I was on Twitter last night live tweeting with the episode. I didn't live tweet the entire episode, but I was on Twitter tweeting, right? And it's not just me that just doesn't see it for Hits from the Streets, right? It's so many of us that don't see it for him, right? So is Hits from the Streets almost like Chris from season 12? Let me know in the comment section, you guys. So Hits from the Streets decided that he wanted to ask Nicole and Chris, is married sex different from single sex, right? I was like, wait a minute. The sexual guy who isn't having sex with his wife is asking a question about what sex is like, right? And we're gonna talk about him and sex in just a minute. But I want him to G-O, just go the hell away, right? But let's pause here and wrap up the episode with Hits from the Streets and Jasmine. All right, you guys, so I don't really need my notes for Hits from the Streets and Jasmine, because Hits from the Streets is a walking, talking contradiction. But I'm gonna get my notes just anyways, so to make sure that I don't miss anything when it comes to Hits from the Streets. And I do want to point out one thing, because somebody came in my comments a few weeks ago and was upset about, the title of that episode. I knew what the title was. I knew it was a play on words, right? But I was just like, it didn't make sense to me, because it did not make sense. But then I happened to just look at that person's their YouTube, right? And that person was upset about people insinuating that Hits from the Streets and that hating ass cousin are incestuous, right? For me, I have never, and I want to point this out to anybody who's watching my video, I have never said that they've done anything, right? I've made jokes about it. I've made jokes because I've said it gives the illusion that they've done something, right? Because I've wondered, are they biological cousins, or are they, play cousins or whatnot, right? Because it just gives a weird vibe with that cousin. That's all I want to say. The cousin just gives a weird vibe. I don't know if they've done anything, and I'm not going to say that they have, but it just comes off like something has happened before. Don't know what, but it just gives a little too close. Even with my cousins are very protective of me, but they would never be that protective. And then the thing is, the issue with your cousin is him. It's not Jasmine. And I think that's really what blows me when it comes to his cousin, right? You have such an issue with Jasmine, but your cousin is the one that is the dog. So let's talk about him, right? So we see him, and he went to go hang out with his friend, right? So his friend asked him, how was marriage? It ain't going. He asked him, did they have sex? Hell no, they didn't have sex, right? So the thing that blows me with Hits from the Streets is the way that he talks about Jasmine, right? And once again, you guys, I know. We've come to the conclusion that we think we know what it is, right? I'm pretty positive he looks, because Jasmine is a very beautiful girl. Let's not sit here and pretend like she's ugly, because the way he talks about her, you would think that this girl is a booger wolf, right? But she's a very gorgeous girl. I really do believe for Hits from the Streets that the issue that he cannot get past is her teeth. I'm pretty positive, because there's nothing else. Like, her face, beautiful. I mean, she's okay. Besides the fact that he says he likes the Megan Thee Stallion types, right? So she ain't got a big ass. I don't think that's it. I do not think that that's it. Because even if she, let's just say for the sake of saying, right, that she had a Megan Thee Stallion body, I still don't think he would want to sleep with her. I don't believe that he would, right? So they went to a rage room, right? Honestly, I would have told him, you might not want to go to a rage room with me, because I'm going to rage on you. So we see them look at their wedding photos. He read his vows. Why did it sound like I said vows? I said vows, VOWS, right? He read his vows, and she was like, so have you lived up to your vows? He says no, which absolutely he has not. And it just begs the question, why? But again, I want to point something out as well that I noticed when it comes to Hits from the Streets, right? So he's talking about the fact that he's not attracted to her, but yet instead you continuously talk to her about sex. You asked her what her favorite position was. You had those never have I ever questions last week, right? You want to bang her. Let's just keep it real. You want to do it with her, but there's a blockage. And again, it's got to be something with her. It's something with her appearance. It is something with her appearance, because let's just keep it 100%. A vagina does not have a face. A vagina has no face. So you ain't looking at her face when you are like, you can turn her doggy style. You can do so many different positions. So let's stop pretending like, he says he's not attracted to her, but it's just something physically, because you don't have to be the most beautiful person to have sex with anybody. Like, let's keep it real. So it's just something else there. And then he pissed me off in this episode when he sat there and was telling her that he wants to wait until after decision day to have sex with her, right? That's a lie. Because he doesn't want to continue to have meaningless sex. And I'm gonna poke a hole in the meaningless sex comment, right? Hits from the Streets. You must have forgot that when you got with all the men, you and Clint had sex with women 2 weeks before this process. So that's a lie. That is a whole ass lie. You just had sex with a woman a month prior to this. So miss me with the bull. Oh God, he just really irked my nerves and my spirit, you guys. That's all I got for this episode. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, share the video, and until the next time, you guys, stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Be blessed. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.